Hey guys, welcome to my first ever do-it-yourself video. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna try to explain to you guys the process that I went through and making one of the things you guys may have seen on Instagram or Twitter. One of the projects that I decided to do kind of on a whim about a month and a half ago was to make a comic book set of high heels. So the way that this all came about is I had seen them a couple times on Pinterest and thought, oh, that's really cute, but I don't want to go and spend the money and have to buy a new pair of shoes just to turn around and cover them in comic books. So I'd actually had a pair of black heels that I wore probably 3 times a week. They were like my favorite pair of shoes. And on a business trip, I completely destroyed one of the backs of the shoes, either through traveling on the plane and scraping it like on the bottom of the seat, or just through getting shuffled around in my luggage. I'm not quite sure, but I got home and the back of one of the heels was absolutely destroyed. So I was really bummed out and thought, I love these high heels and I don't know what to do with them. So that Pinterest post came in the back of my head and I thought, well, this is perfect time. So I've got them. So know that if you want to do this project, you don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money. I total for this project spent, I think, $5. I bought 2 comic books and a foam brush, and I already had a pair of shoes and a canister of Mod Podge, which is like a glue adhesive sealant that you'll need. And other than that, those are the only supplies that you'll need. So that being said, here is one of the shoes that I made. It's a very easy process to go through. So starting out, you're going to want to pick out a comic book. I wouldn't, please don't ruin like $1,000 comic book like some rare thing. And girls, if you're taking your boyfriend's comic, just don't even take your boyfriend's comic books. How about that? How about if he has them, admire them from far away and know that they should not ever touch scissors and glue. That being said, I knew that I wanted to make the Avengers heels. So you can see a couple places I'll show you on here. There's like a little Captain America guy there. I also picked out Wonder Woman, so you'll see Wonder Woman on some of the places. I have the Avengers logo on the back of the shoe there. But I knew that Wonder Woman and the Avengers were the 2 that I wanted to use. So I just went to a local comic book store and told them immediately, I'm cutting this up and destroying it. Please don't point me anywhere specific, but I need a comic book that has those characters in it. And on top of that, I wanted it to be a very old school comic that had like pow and crash and all these like crazy, I think this one says Krang. I wanted it to have that kind of old school comic book feel. I know some of them now are very artsy and they don't have that. So the gentleman at the comic book store was very, very nice and said, here you go. This comic book is $1.50 and I think the other one was like $2.50. So it was very inexpensive. So make sure that you go buy a cheap comic book for the purposes of tearing them up. Geeks everywhere, don't be sad that I did that. So yeah, so once you do that, you'll want to go through and cut out the pieces that you really like. So those keywords or the silhouettes of the characters, or if it's a logo. One of them somewhere on these has the Marvel logo. I know that this one says the Avengers on the top of it. It says Smash on the side. It says Rumble, and then you can see all of the actual Avengers characters around the bottom. So you'll want to go cut those out very first. So do that very first before you do anything. You're going to need, I would say, probably 20 total items. Big, small, vary them in sizes and shape. They can be flying. They can be doing whatever it is. But you're going to need about 20, 10 for each shoe. Mine don't match at all, so don't worry about that. If they don't match, that's fine. You're not probably going to get them to match. So don't worry about buying 2 identical comic books to try to flip it around. Just piecemeal it together, it'll be great. So once you've got those 20 items cut out and ready, you're gonna take the rest of the pages and just shred it. Cut it up, do whatever you need to do. Cut them in triangle shaped pieces, odd sizes, whatever it is that you wanna do, and get them ready. So once you've got those, you're gonna need a lot. Just cut until your fingers hurt. I didn't count how many I used, but it was a lot, and then I ran out and I had to go back and cut more. So just from the very, very get-go, cut them, do whatever you need to do. then you need to actually prep the shoe. So I just took some like rubbing alcohol and cleaned them off really, really well, made sure that they were really dry so that the Mod Podge would adhere to the side of the shoe. And then what you'll do is you'll literally just pick a section to start on. I started at the bottom and then worked my way up to the top. So I just covered the top of the shoe in Mod Podge and then took those triangle pieces that don't have any rhyme or reason and kind of puzzle pieced them in. I didn't overlap them. I tried to fit them in as well as I could, overlapping in a few different places, obviously. But so do that in a section. And then once you've got this section pretty much covered, you're gonna go back again with a layer of Mod Podge. So it'll look white. It's gonna look like it has a milky finish to it, but it'll dry clear, so don't worry about that either. So when you're covering it up and you think you're not gonna be able to see it, just rest assured it'll dry clear, I promise. So once you do that, you're just gonna work your way all the way up, all the way around the shoe, just with those triangle shaped pieces. It shouldn't take too long. I think the total amount of time that I spent for both of these shoes was maybe about 2 hours. That includes cutting, starting, everything. You'll want to leave them overnight to dry just to be sure, but after that it should be fine. So do both pairs of shoes. Make sure that you cover them both in the triangle shaped pieces, and then once you've done that, then you'll want to go back and then take those silhouette pieces that you found, cover the area that is about that size. If you have a piece that's this big, take a piece that big and cover it in the Mod Podge solution. Stick it on there, get it all nice and even. You're gonna have curves, that's fine. What we found was really helpful when I worked on this was that if you just take a little pair of scissors and just snip it in corners that are folding, it'll kind of overlap when it gets wet and you won't have any issues with crinkling or anything like that. So lay those on there, get them nice and stuck, and then you'll cover the whole thing once you're all the way done with another layer of Mod Podge. If you want, you can go back and do a second total coat. I actually only did one, and then I wore these out, and then I noticed that there were a couple pieces that started like at the corners, like on some logos, that started to come up a little bit. So I will probably go ahead and go back and do one final layer of Mod Podge, but there's not really a way to screw these up. As you can see, I left the heels of mine black. These were black shoes to begin with. So I just took more Mod Podge and covered the heel, and it corrected a lot of the wearing actually and made them super shiny, so it matched with the rest of the shoe. So that's pretty much it. It's a very, very easy, simple, cheap project. If you're going to go out and buy a new pair of shoes for this, my recommendation is two things. Number one, I would go to like a cheap shoe store. The shoes that I had were made out of like I don't know, an artificial leather or pleather, whatever you want to call it, and it adhered really, really well. I don't know about if you were going to try to do suede or something fancy. I wouldn't recommend it. I would just recommend something that's got a really smooth surface that can just adhere to the glue really, really well. So I would do that. Number one, I would buy a cheap shoe. I would buy something that is like an artificial leather shoe, and then I would make sure that they're worn in pretty well. So if you want to bend the leather a little bit, because the last thing you want to do is go through all this work and put all the comic book stuff on and then wear them, and then when you break them in, you've got issues with the comic book. So mine, I'd had these for probably 2 years before I covered mine. But other than that, there's not anything else. I haven't been in the rain in these, so don't like go jump in a bunch of puddles. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't do that, but hopefully you guys will try this project at home. It was really fun, really easy. Boo helped me with a couple of the pieces, sticking them on, so even little kids can help if you've got little ones at home or ones that want to help. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you all in game or in craft studio soon. Bye!